Good morning, everybody. I'm David DeLallo. Welcome to this edition of our Gen AI news briefing. I'm here with the GAI Insights crew, our co-founder, Paul. We've got Luda, we've got Adam, our analysts, and as well as our analyst, Ankaj, who serves up all these great articles for us every day. And today we are going to talk a lot about Google. Yesterday was all about OpenAI. Today is all about Google. Or actually Monday was about OpenAI. We'll have a couple other articles too sprinkled in there. We're going to talk about a BCG study that looked at some gender differences between Gen AI adoption. We've got an article from, it seems like it's from the design team at Andreessen Horowitz. A little news out of Klarna about everybody there using generative AI. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Ankaj.
So David, the first one, as you mentioned, we have a lot of announcements from Google. So this article talks about Google's Gemini updates, particularly focused on the Gemini Live and the Gemini models.
Correct. This does have many updates in it. We'll focus a little bit more on the live release here, and then we'll have a second article that goes into even more of their updates. As we know, they were on stage for 2 hours going through these updates yesterday, so there was definitely a lot to parse here. So we'll start off with Luda and your reactions to Gemini Live.
Well, it's certainly exciting, right? There are two horses in the race, and they're trying to beat each other. First announcement, then another announcement. But this really is similar to the capabilities that ChatGPT announced on Monday, right? So, Ankaj, if you scroll a little bit down, there is a very brief way of showing what this does. So essentially, there is a project Astra at Google that is supposed to create broad capabilities. This article focuses on just the ability of the AI assistant, video parsing, text parsing, and giving you an environment in which you are, the phone is as if it's the person in the room. You can ask it whether it sees what is this thing, what is that thing, what is this code intended to do. A lot of depth and a lot of capability. So very impressive. It is not on the market, will be on the market at the end of the year. I would put it as important for people to know that there is a race, and it's happening right now in real time.
All right, that's one important vote. I would call it essential. We called all of OpenAI's announcements essential, and I feel like you said, it's kind of a two-horse race at this point. So I think it's important for the leader to know what's coming out through Google. Obviously, as you said, this, and as we'll see in a few minutes, a lot of what they talked about is not coming out right now and doesn't have a definite time frame. So that's not extraordinarily helpful for the AI leader, but it does let them know that there are other capabilities coming out that are similar to what OpenAI offers. And so they've kind of got to make some decisions, right? Are they going to go all in on OpenAI now? Would they hold off on some things for Gemini for any reason, because maybe Google is what's integrated into their organization? So I would vote for essential, but Paul, Adam, curious as to what you thought.
I'm okay with essential, actually, because it's impressive. It's certainly impressive.
Paul, what did you think?
I think, first, what an amazing time to be alive. I mean, look at the wars. It's just breathtaking what's going on this week. I think the second observation of mine, it really is a two-horse race. I mean, I think we're seeing the limits of Amazon's highly decentralized model and P&Ls, that they aren't really in this rapid innovation, or at least rapid announcement war. I think it's definitely essential. I think for two reasons. One, it's breathtaking, the capability that's on the lab shelf. that will probably be real the next year or so. And second thing, I think it helps leaders for budget justification. It can show other executives who are skeptical the amount of change that's coming down the pike that will certainly impact those industries that are in the crucible. So yes, I vote for essential.
All right. And one of our loyal viewers, Kevin Petrie, is letting us know that Google did get some criticism. I guess there are some bugs from folks that have used these tools. I'm not sure who's getting up, and there it popped up now. Look at that timing. I wonder if AI knew that I was talking about him and popped him up on the screen. I guess we'll never know. So, you know, I'm not surprised. I'm not sure who the early users are because none of us are able to. I guess it's some beta testers. But okay, we'll go with essential. And, you know, when you compare the two, right, a lot of this functionality is already available from OpenAI and for free now, based on them moving things from the plus user to the free user. So they you know, smart on OpenAI to go ahead and try to hook people now before you can even get Google. And that's kind of been the case all along, right? So we'll see how this shakes out, but Google seems to be still a little behind, though they have that huge user base already. So very interesting. We'll go essential, and let's go on to the remaining Google news here. Ankaj.
So this next news item around Google's announcements only, but this talks about how Google has added the AI capabilities in Google Photos, then generative AI for learning, then Gemma 2 updates, generative AI in Google Play again, for detecting scams during calls. So a lot of other features released by Google.
Yes, many features here, and they kind of poked fun at themselves at the conference by having AI track the number of times that they said AI, which was, I believe, ended at about 121 times. So not surprising, given how many products they are creating with AI. Paul, what did you think about these? You as like the real killer app that you're excited about, and what was your rating?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a couple things. I mean, obviously, we're certainly doing a lot of employee training, and I really like the phrase they use is "let Google do the work for you." I think that's a nice phrase to help people understand both on personal productivity and process automation where these technologies are going. It was a kitchen sink of announcements. I think it's essential for the scan. I think the AI generated questions are particularly interested. I think getting more Gemini into Gmail is very important, at least for those few corporations out there that are using Google Workspace. Obviously, most of the companies are using Microsoft 360, but a kitchen sink, but we're skimming and essential rating in my view.
Yeah, totally agree on essential. One functionality that I have been waiting for, and it sounds like maybe we're getting close, but I'm still not quite sure that it's going to happen with email. So as you can imagine, and I'm sure you all do, I subscribe to many newsletters about AI, and I don't delete them because I want one day AI to come in and scrape all of that data that I have from the newsletters and help me create this amazing database of information about AI that I can manipulate down the line. So that's the killer app that I am waiting for. And I hope maybe this mail tool gets us there, but I wasn't quite sure. What do you think, Luda? Any of these stand out to you as particularly exciting?
Not specific news, but when I went through the list, I came out with the feeling that we are looking at the complete integration of the workspace with AI helping us really navigate our data on our computers, data out there, our email, our calendars. This will be amazing. That's the killer app, David, I am looking for.
Yeah.
So all of these, unfortunately, are baby steps in those directions, right? So it's not yet there, but you could see that it certainly is coming, probably, I mean, as early as 25. That's what I'm hoping Yeah, so I don't know whether I would put this article as essential. It's just way too much stuff, and some of these features are small in comparison with others. I think they wanted to fill the time, and that's what they did. It's certainly a lot of features, a lot of work, a lot of good work, but I don't know whether this article is worth reading. It's certainly worth saying, look, keep an eye on it. That's where I would end up.
Adam, I know you're on the road and you may not have absorbed all this yet, but I'm not sure if you caught any of the announcements yesterday and anything stuck out to you.
You know, I think the team has covered it fairly well. The one thing that keeps running through my head is how much of what they showed that hasn't been released was their hand being forced by OpenAI earlier this week, right? And them saying, well, we've got this stuff, it's still in the lab, but we need to show it off to prove that we're still in this race. So I'm sort of underwhelmed in some ways by them trying to keep up with the Joneses when they aren't really out of the gates. I think it would have, it would have been unfortunate to say, here's the one thing we have that's actually available. So I can understand why they had to do what they did. But a lot of these things, man, to say that this is going to be available by end of year is seriously underwhelming for me. It's essential that people understand that Google is developing these capabilities. I think it's more essential to understand that these capabilities are in market and that OpenAI is the leader at this point. I didn't get a chance to actually review either of these articles specifically, so I'd say it's essential news, but potentially important articles.
Yeah, and Adam, to that point, I think one essential audience for this was the Wall Street. I think they fubbed so many of their announcements. OpenAI's got such a buzz, and Microsoft's put $1 trillion in market cap. I think they really want to, confuse. And I'd like to go back and at least highlight, Luda, some of your excitement. I mean, I think we really are looking at the green screen where we have menu drop downs and point and click to get work done. Where we're just going to be talking to our and saying, summarize all the things, and we're going to look back at that quaint day when we actually had. Our grandkids, at least my grandkids, will say, Grandpa, did you really have a point and click thing to actually get email? Were you not able to talk to your email?
It's the typewriter or the records, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
We talk a lot about the AI giving you a chance to talk to machines. I think they're getting more specific about talking to your photos is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, but the underlying thing here is that I hope, and we have capabilities coming up, that it would know what you are doing in your work. Like my assistant should know that I'm preparing for this big presentation, and I should be able to say, hey, listen, did I put this thing on slide empty number, whatever, right? What are the gaps in this in preparation for the presentation? Things like that. So this is a meta level understanding of what our workflows are like and specifics about them. So I that's what excites me.
This is a classic case study, right? About a startup disrupting an incumbent. And it's interesting in this one because usually it's a tech startup disrupting an incumbent that might not be as digitized. But here it's two companies in the tech space, and you've got a tech incumbent being disrupted by a tech startup. I would note, I'm not giving Google a break here. I've been kind of hard on them for this whole time, but they can't move as fast as OpenAI, right? Because they have billions of people using their products, and they have to be really careful. Now, I still think they're messing up and a little slow on productizing things, but I just find it's really fascinating. We're definitely going to see this as an HBR case study. We should tell John to write it up for them.
Well, and lastly on that, I mean, that's why I think it's a shrewd move by Microsoft's part, where they can innovate through a non-publicly traded company, OpenAI, and get the benefits of it. But when they screw up, it's a private company's fault. And even though Google's invested in a handful of companies, I mean, their innovation's coming from them. So they are birthing their own large language models. So they own all the mistakes, unlike Microsoft can push them off.
Yeah.
But the last thing our colleague Echo, who's our representation of our AI colleague, I asked her this morning what she thought about this article, and Adam, we're still training. She was just super enthusiastic. I asked her why an AI leader should read this. She gave us a long answer, but we need to get more prompts in there to get it more specific and precise.
I'm going with essential on this one too.
Okay.
You understand it's a bit of a slog. It's definitely one thing after another, and it's hard to kind of figure out what's going on. It's probably go watch some of the videos, I would say, to absorb some of this on Google's site. But I think you need to be aware as the AI leader of all of these things that are coming to bear at some point. So, Anankaj, did any of these stick out to you that you're really excited about before we go?
The photos one is really exciting, David. So I can just ask the photos to get me. So I was looking for a document today. I couldn't find it from thousands of photos. So I could just ask it that, okay, get me that document. So that was really good.
Yeah, definitely cool. And I like the functionality where you can take a picture of some list and say, put all of this into my schedule. If I had like a list of events right now, I know there's some capability for that, but it doesn't, I mean, you can't put it into something. You can take a picture and have it come on the screen. It's not very reliable though. So I'm hoping that gets upgraded too. All right, let's move on from Google. What do we have next?
Okay. So the next one is from A16Z. So it's a detailed article on how Gen AI is remaking the UI UX design piece.
Yes, I was interested. And if you could scroll down to the chart, because that's definitely one of the things that I think are valuable, the chart of vendors in this space. I'm going to give this important. So this article, as Ankash says, it walks through the kind of the process that happens when an app is being designed, the dance between the engineers and the coders and those ideating what things will look like, and how AI is kind of coming into that process to aid it to a degree. And so I think it's important, because I think this is a great chart letting people know what tools are available right now to help in this process. And two, while the head of AI is a role that is present in some companies, most companies, especially the smaller ones, have the CTO or the CIO doing double duty on that, right? So they're heavily involved in the process of creating apps for either internal use, or if they're in a space where they need to create consumer-facing ones. So I feel like they need to be aware of all the possibilities that are available now to help, and kind of what's coming down the line. What did you all think? Do you agree with me, or do you find me being too exuberant about this one?
I would back important for the reason that UIs, the user interfaces, are pervasive, and there are so many bad ones. And the reason people release bad ones is because they don't have the resources to actually get it done well. So that streamlining and ability to experiment cheaply to get a good UI, a good communication method to your application is, I think, a great thing. It's a very thoughtful article. It goes through the steps. It goes through how it can be done. I think it's a very important read, even though it's developer centric. But I think for the executive, it's important to understand that these capabilities are coming to the market, and they can really streamline and the work and be able to put very good UIs out.
Yes, and I loved some of the forward-looking ideas at the end of how AI could be used down the line. An adaptive user interface is one of the things that they talked about. So basically, you would go in and do your work, and the UI would change based on what you're trying to do. Maybe some of the elements come off the page if it sees over time that you're not using 5 of the functionalities. Let's just get them off the page. That could be super cool. All right, we will go. Oh, sorry.
to that point, I'm sorry. To that point, they made a note that like Salesforce interfaces, these big applications that sit on top of relational databases, that well they have as a user interface is essentially showing you the plethora of fields that exist in the database, and they can't not, right? Because what if you think it's important in whatever context you're looking at, right? So this was streamline and create clarity of pulling the data you want at that time. So I really think this is important. Yeah, agree.
All right. We will go with important. We will move on to the next one. Ankash.
So the next one is from the fintech firm Klarna, and they say that 90% of their employees are using Gen AI on a daily basis.
All right. And we heard about Klarna a couple months ago, right? When they talked about the amount of customer service calls that were going through their generative AI. It was some, through the roof number. Here we hear about how many of their employees are using it in other ways. And I saw the Nothing Burger come out from Paul, but this is Luda's article to start with. So let's hear what she has to say and make sure she agrees with that.
Yeah, I think it's a marketing announcement to get some news. It's optional for me, but it's a cool company. I didn't know much about it, so I went and looked. They essentially doing really cool stuff on how you can pay for things in Sweden. I think they are doing Amazon type thing in Sweden, but very well, sounds like. So, but nothing bug. I agree with Paul.
Yeah, and we're done a lot of employee training. I don't believe the 87%, or if it's that's defined as have you logged on to OpenAI once in the last year and used it for at least 30 seconds? Because we're seeing really big pockets of skepticism, 10-15% at least, and fear of doing the wrong thing. So I don't believe that is a meaningful thing here.
It's kind of interesting that CNBC picked up this story, right? I was kind of thinking of all the things that you could be reporting on. This is pretty narrow. Okay, we will go with optional on this one, and we have one more today.
The last one comes from BCG, and it talks about how women leaders are outpacing men in Gen AI adoption, while the numbers are quite comparable, but seems like they wanted to make a news out of it.
Yeah, and there were some areas where there was a little bit of a wider gap, but not in a lot of areas. I didn't open the full article here, but man, this is just a lot of numbers in this one to go through. But the message, perhaps important, I thought, because you need to know who's kind of the power user, who's not, what might you need to do to get those people on board. But I can't go to important on reading this article. I thought it was optional myself. Paul, what did you think?
Oh, this is embarrassing. Yeah, this is a triple nothing burger. I'm very supportive of women in tech, and I'm interested in Luda, but this is shameful for Boston Consulting Group to suggest that 68 and 66% are meaningful, statistically interesting different. Shame on them. And the fact that whatever editor approved this, it's embarrassing. It deteriorates the brand. It's wasting our time. And I think there's actually more important things to talk about and highlight with AI, women in leadership in AI, than this. But
it was very narrow. It was only women in the tech industry, so it wasn't even women usage throughout any industry. But Luda, you're our women representative here. What did you think?
I hate women-centric articles. I really do. I stay away of women this and women that. Women can compete.
Yes.
They are in many cases stronger than men. They are very, very powerful in different ways. So I just don't it's very, you're right, it's very narrow. It pins women into a corner. Why to even think about it? It infuriates me. So totally nothing burger. And I grew up in an environment where I was a math major, right? We had 5 women and 250 men, a group, right? So it's, you can do it if you want to, and it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man. Come on.
All right, shame on BCG. And just you mentioned the editor. I don't do work for BCG, by the way. I would never have let this article go out like this. This is
embarrassing.
Not good on a lot of levels. Okay, Ankaj, where did we end up? I know we have Google is essential. We have important on our UI UX article from Andreessen Horowitz. We have very, very optional for the last 2 articles that we discussed today. And I love when it comes out like this, because when I do the newsletter now, I get to keep everything in the original order because it's actually ranked with essential first and optional at the bottom. So that means I have less work today. So great discussion on this. Exciting times indeed. We'll keep watching what comes next, right? As Paul said, what's Amazon going to announce, if anything? We know we have the conference from Apple coming up in early June, so we've got a couple weeks. And I would say on that, if indeed the rumors are true that OpenAI will integrate into Apple, I say checkmate for OpenAI and Apple over Google at that point.
Wow, that's a big debate issue next week.
Look, I'll tell you.
We'll have to see.
I picked up more Apple stock. I know I've been making fun of them like crazy, but when the market was down, I picked up more Apple stock because I have faith in them from their history that they're going to come out in something good. Now they may completely obliterate that, but I've put my money that things are going to be exciting when we hear from them in June.
Yeah. It'll be a good discussion. I think it is interesting to note that the billions and billions and billions are being spent over and above VC investment levels by these tech giants. So we continue to see that Microsoft, Google, AWS, and Apple are investing billions and driving innovation in a war that we've never seen before. So we're going to have many more days and weeks like this where it's just, a kitchen sink of future enhancements. And Luda, it's quite exciting. It'll be interesting to see which ones are real, but we continue to see things like Sora, which were not even on a radar screen, come out of nowhere and just blow everyone away. And what an exciting time.
Yeah, but I'm looking for all of this excitement, right? But if you are an AI leader sitting there figuring out what to pick to integrate into your environment, it's very confusing. So, and I'm applauding the speed, and I'm hoping that there will be more maturation in certain sectors, so that for AI leader, you can pick some things, implement them, and then evolve. It's not quite there yet. It's getting there.
Well, and I think there's I think we're also starting to see, at least I'm starting to see some disillusionment. I had a dinner last night with a couple tech folks, and one guy, pretty senior, or very senior, they rolled out Copilot to all their coders, and they've now taken it back. I know 3 companies that have spent a fair amount of money on Copilot, and it's a meeting summary, and a lot of people aren't using it, and they're trying to figure out, is that a training issue, adoption issue? So I think there's a big adjustment coming with all these changes, Luda. It's not trivial to get this absorbed.
Yeah.
In a 5 and 10,000 person company.
Yes. You hesitate to roll it out, but then pull it back, right? So you say, maybe I should wait. So it is an issue.
Yeah, I've been curious in terms of the low usage that we keep hearing about Copilot. I don't know. The optimist in me says that people have been using these assistants now, like ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., and they get to have this banter with it. It's got multiple functionality. I dare to say, like, it's a little more like interacting with a human and having this assistant on the side do whatever you want it to do. Whereas with these tools, right, the way they're configured now, and you kind of have a bit more limited usage when they're baked into the app, if that is really just a design problem, and really we do want this kind of helper on the side, and that's really going to be the app, and these integrations really need to go behind the scene more. TBD.
David, that's a great question. I mean, we pay for our little company. We're paying $17 a month to get the advanced Gemini features in Google Workspace. So it's in doc and everything else. And I push myself all the time to use the tools, and I still don't use it. And I'm a month away from coming back and asking anybody, or actually maybe just turning it off and seeing if anyone notices. So I think there's something about, it's so new. So the robots are over there. So I'm going to go to the robot tools, and then I'm going to go to my traditional tools. And I've got such muscle memory on this is really the white screen creating document. But I think it's a really important question you're bringing up. Yeah. But when you're paying that much for a couple hundred or a couple thousand employees, it's not good for the CFOs, because you're getting asked for $10 a month for Slack, $10 to $20 a month for Copilot. It's $200 to $300 per month per employee. That really is not sustainable.
Yeah. Very interesting times indeed. I could talk about this all day. I'm sure you all can, but we have many things to attend to and clients to chat with. Thank you, everybody. This was a really lively discussion on the side with Michael and Kevin and others. We really value your input and love that you join us every day, and we'll definitely have you guys on again as guests. Till tomorrow, have a great day, guys.
Thank you.